Hey kids! So I know I've been really crap. It's been like 2 months since I've done a vlog, which is bad, but I got all busy and stuff with touring because I think the last time I actually did a video was while we were still rehearsing, and it gets a bit hectic. I mean, so my evening's free, but I'm really lazy and I'm sorry. This country actually gets warm. I'm just wearing a singlet and I'm not dying. It's amazing. It's actually probably in the high teens or maybe even 20. It must have been at least 20 in the car when I was driving today, that's for sure. So yeah, the last few months have been pretty full on with touring. Some weeks we're not in London at all, like this week, and we have 11 shows and it's a lot of driving, but some weeks we're in London, which is still just as long on the road because it means we have to go through central London, which takes forever. Either way, it's been fun, and still, 5 more weeks left, I think, until we're done, and then I'll figure out what I'm doing after that. Who knows? I'm gonna go to Denmark. So yeah, I thought it would be fun to do a story because a few weeks ago, well, actually the beginning of March, after a Stuff for Free event, I was walking around with one of the guys and we came across a place called Gorilla Perfume, which is a subsidiary of Lush, but they just do perfumes and they do kind of cool personalised perfumes, and they'll have wee stories associated with them. And one of the women who was there, she did a scented story, which was really cool. We had like the scents come up at different times throughout the story. They used a bath bomb and perfume and that sort of thing. But I can't make it a scented story because that's not how video works until we get smell-o-vision, which will be strange. So I'm just going to tell you a story because the story should be passed on, and feel free to pass it on to other people if you watch this. The story is called Ina and the Eel, and originates in Hawaii, or off the edges of Hawaii. It's kind of a traditional tale, but I'm going to tell it in my own way because that's how a story is. Everyone tells it slightly differently. So once upon a time, there was a young girl called Ina. She was about 13, and she lived on an island of Hawaii, one of the smaller islands, with her mother. And at the age of 13 was when they decided that she had to start doing chores and housework and things. So what she was set to do was every day she would have to go down to the river and wash the clothes in the river and gather some water and come back to the house. And while she was down there, she met a young boy, and they became friends and they would talk. And at first she had hated it. She would go down to the river and trudge along, and then she met this young boy and they became friends and talked, and they would play in the water, and so she was always very happy to go and do the washing in the river. And then after a few weeks he wasn't there, and she looked around and she heard someone speaking to her, and there was an eel, and he said, "Ina, I've been turned into an eel." And he said, "In a few days it will start to rain, and what you must do is cut off my head and bury me, and then the rain will stop." And then a few days later the rain started, and the village started to flood, and all of the villagers, her friends and family, they had to go high up onto the hills. And Ina went down to the river where she had found her friend, and he said, "It's time." And what she did was she took him and she found a sharp rock by the edge of the river, and she cut off his head, all the while crying because he was such a good friend. and buried his head. And then the rain stopped. And the flood started to go down. And everyone could return back to their homes safely. And no one died. And a few days later, she went back to the spot. And there, she saw a wee sprout growing. And a few days later, it grew bigger. And it continued to grow throughout the year. And then the next thing she knew, she looked up and she saw hanging from the tree coconuts, which when you look carefully, the 2 dots and the little funny shaped thing, it looks like the face of an eel. So that's the story of Ina and the eel. Pass it on.